On the evening of April 24th in 1995, an Italian tourist by the name of Guido Gaudenzi embarked on a seemingly uneventful cave diving exhibition located in Hernando County, Florida. Gaudenzi was a proficient cave diver and went there that night with hopes of gathering information on the unique marine life and the beautiful crystal clear water for a magazine article. However, what should have just been any old mundane campaign ended in tragedy. The Diepolder Cave System is located on the Sandhill Boy Scout Reservation in Spring Hill, Florida. Controlled by the Florida Speleological Society, the caves consist of two large subsections that have been titled Diepolder 2 and Diepolder 3. The name alone should send a weariness through your body. Diepolder 2 is the deeper of the two, a depth of 110 meters or 360 feet. But Diepolder 3 is nothing to scoff at, with a depth of 90 meters or 300 feet. The caves are complex, narrow, restricted, and downright claustrophobic. In 1979, Dale Sweet did a deep dive into the two sink, marking the first time that a diver had ever explored a cave while breathing mixed gas in the state of Florida. As an ode to American hero Neil Armstrong, Dale planted a small American flag with an undisclosed message on the back. In 1980, although lacking a map and with little to no information, Sheck Exley successfully plunged into the caves using compressed air. Compressed air is a mixture of 21% oxygen, 78% nitrogen, and 1% other trace gases. When adventuring further than 200 feet, divers are required to use different mixes of gas in their tanks, rather than the compressed air that is typically used during more shallow dives. These gases allow the divers to venture further and further into the depths of the water, while maintaining their safety. Divers almost always have a bottle of pure oxygen that they carry with them to help speed up the process of decompression that should only be used at about 10 to 20 feet below the surface. A little known fact is that oxygen becomes toxic to humans when more than 66 feet below the surface. Divers are required to make a multitude of decompression stops at varying depths as they ascend upwards to ensure that no nitrogen or other dangerous gases remain in their bodies. If someone were to go immediately upwards with no care or discipline, they risk severe, sometimes fatal consequences. In 1987, divers Lamar English and Bill Gavin accepted the same harrowing challenge using the newfound mixed gas that was only just starting to come into more mainstream use. And then, on March 23, 1991, a group of divers organized a project to collect more information on the system beyond just the flag room. Sheck Exley, Dale Sweet, and Bill Gavin returned to the Diepolder, with newcomers Bill Main, Steve Strasma, and Vaughn Maxwell, and others joining the crew. The trip was a success, and the Diepolder had come into a new light. With this new light, however, the Diepolder's Wild West days had come to a close. With this newfound information, the cave system required a new set of rules for any who were itching for exploration. All cavers must be fully cave trained through the National Association for Cave Diving, NACD. Additionally, divers must show proof of 100 cave dives. The Diepolder had different stipulations for how and when someone could embark on the dives. A guide is required. One guest needs to have visited Sink 3 at least 5 different times before visiting Sink 2, etc. With this newfound set of rules, the Diepolder Cave System was shaping up to become one of the most exciting and alluring attractions for daredevils across the world to explore and check off of their bucket list. Which brings us back to Guido Gaudenzi. At around 5 p.m. on April 24, 1995, Gaudenzi arrived at the Diepolder with his longtime friend Simone Roncoli and Spring Hill resident Sandra Dirksen, who was to serve as their guide through the systems. The pair of friends was again informed on the dangers that might come with the journey, but the two were determined and signed the release, which is a requirement at most caves to dodge any legal trouble. Eager for the thrill, the three rigged their gear and began the journey like all those before them. The trio descended about 190 feet through a chute into the gorgeous sterile water. Once they reached the cave, they swam to the top and navigated the circumference before departing, and ascending through the same chute that brought them there. The trio rose to the 120 feet decompression stop, and up until then, Simone Roncoli described the trip as uneventful, but that would soon change. Gaudenzi did have his tank of pure oxygen with him on this trip, and unfortunately the difficult distinction between the different tanks would prove costly. Once at the established decompression stop, Gaudenzi went to take a breath from his tank of mixed gases. But from the thrill of the adrenaline, Gaudenzi accidentally took a breath of air from his pure oxygen tank. He immediately began convulsing, much to the horror of his two partners. They watched the life drain from his eyes, his teeth clenching together as the regulator fell from his mouth. Roncalli and Dirksen desperately swam to save their friend, but it was much too late. Oxygen at 66 feet below the surface is already dangerous enough, but at 120 feet, you're signing your own death certificate. His central nervous system went into immediate failure, and Guido Gaudenzi died that night. Suffering from shock and despair, the remaining duo knew that there was nothing they could do but return to the surface. They ascended with Gaudenzi's floating body, making decompression stops every 10 feet. They remained under the surface for about an hour with Gaudenzi. Industry insiders have a term for cave divers with an exceptional drive and a taste for adventure: Star Trek syndrome. STS is best defined as a desire to boldly go where no one has gone before, or trying to set depth records never before conceived. Bruce Ryan, a cave diving specialist with the National Speleological Society, described it as an incredible experience. Once you do it, you're addicted. Those who cave dive are aware of the potential jeopardy they are putting themselves in. Even the well-respected and aforementioned Sheck Exley, whom many at the time considered to be the world's best, perished in 1994 while trying to break his own depth record of 881 feet in the Yakutan Peninsula just 14 years after first exploring the Diepolder. Gaudenzi was a skilled diver with 4 years of experience under his belt, but the sad truth is that no amount of training or money can protect you from tempestuous Mother Nature. The human condition is multifaceted. It allows us struggles and triumphs, joys and sorrows. It pushes us forward into the unknown. We strive for adventure, to push ourselves to the limits. It is both our greatest and most dangerous asset as humans. These men and women risk their lives attempting that push, but would they do it again? Most likely. The tragic case of Guido Gaudenzi helps to remind cave divers of the dangers of the profession, but to also cherish the beautiful time we have here. None of us have much time here on this planet, but you should always spend that time doing what you love most.